If you guys are ready, I can start the record and introduce you. We can go into the Solar Kingdom project.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, all good for me.
Okay, great. A warm welcome to the Welcome to Up community. I'm Glenn, your host. Today we have joining us Solar Kingdom. Some of our community investors might remember them as Solar Miner, so it's an extension from that. They've built up a great reputation in the space, the mining space, so that's great. And they've got multiple projects behind them, and we'll go into the miner and everything else about the project shortly. But first, can you introduce yourself with your backgrounds and experience, guys?
Sure. I guess I'll take the lead on that. So, hey guys, I'm Zips. I know my name's a bit hard to say from looking at it, but it's just like saying zip with an S at the end. So I'm the developer here at Solar Farm. As I mentioned previously, there's only one developer on the team, and it's just me. So everything you see, the DApp, the contracts, all of that stuff is done by myself. The only thing I don't do is our buy bot, but other than that, everything that requires coding is done by myself. I've got a big history, now a very long history in the DeFi space, developing projects and working with various projects. I've been a part of many projects that were token-based projects and achieved high 8-figure market caps, and as well as obviously solar and other tokenomically heavy projects that have achieved high TVLs and high TVL volumes. Solar specifically, our track record so far has been to achieve over $8 million in volume on our previous projects. So you really can bring volume into a project, and obviously that will show and that will continue to show for this project. So that's a bit about me. The next is our owner, Solar, Alexander.
Hi guys, I'm Alex. So professionally, I work as an investment banker, have a significant experience in finance. Academically, I have a maths degree, and I've been in the space for a good sort of 2 to 3 years, working on a tokenomically very heavy products such as farming as a service product and other sort of yield optimization protocols and sort of liquidity seeking protocols as well. My sort of main contribution towards Solar Farm is overseeing the running of the product. I also have some input into the tokenomic aspects of the product and the miner contract. And yeah, that pretty much sums up my profile. So next up, I'll just quickly introduce the other two core team members. We have Moneyfest. Moneyfest is our main marketer. He has a sort of a good 2 to 3 years of industry experience, both in and out of crypto. Moneyfest is responsible for securing a lot of the YouTubers that you guys might have seen. So if you go onto YouTube and type in Solar Farm Miner, we're pretty much the only page you'll see for dozens of pages. So we have hundreds of YouTube affiliates, Twitter affiliates. We've also secured big names such as Wanda Nara, wife of Icardi, who plays with Messi. We also have the Island Boys as well. So Moneyfest has been able to go out and secure some big names for us, and he's on track to continue doing that. We also have DeFi Gorilla, who's there previously. He's unable to join us today. DeFi is our sort of business development manager. He has industry experience as a biz dev for huge corporations of the last decade, such as sort of McDonald's, SpaceX, and Goldman Sachs. So he's been sort of very prominent in and out of the industry. He has a lot of networking contacts across multiple protocols, across multiple blockchain networks, and he adds a lot of value bringing all those in to help Solar grow. So that's sort of a quick overview on the team.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Alexander and Zips, for the introduction. So yeah, maybe we can just do go back. You've been around in the space for a long time. So yeah, if we could just do some history on what you've been building and producing and the Solar Kingdom, then we can talk about that.
Yeah, that's great. I'm not sure if Alexander wants to speak on this, or if this is.
Yeah, I can start things off, and then if there's anything to add, Zips, you can add in. So yeah, essentially, we started off as Solar Farm Miner V1, and the initial sort of vision with developing a miner was this constraint of liquidity, and if you guys remember at that time, there were a lot of we launched around the time when things with Luna and things kicked off, and what the miner contracts do, essentially, it mitigates this liquidity requirement, right? Here we have a way of valuing a protocol just by TVL, and it's not connected to any tokens directly. And because of that, we don't have any LP tokens or any liquidity, and that takes away a huge amount of liquidity constraints. And it's also a much more transparent way of valuing a protocol. For example, you'll see some protocols with, $1 billion market cap, but they'd only have like $2 or $3 million of liquidity, which makes it very volatile, very vulnerable to large swings, and kind of inconspicuous to the average investor. So essentially, that was our ethos, and we launched our V1 miner, which was essentially a very close fork of baked beans. We added our own twist to it, such as gamification and community-based events such as shooting stars, hypernovas, and supernovas, which were really successful. And through that, we formed a really large community in what was a very, very, very tough market. And so once we'd done that, sort of baked beans started to fall back, and essentially, our community had some suggestions for us. With solar, the way we do things is everything is 100% community driven. You can see that if you go back into our announcements that, every single decision we've made, we've had polls for it based on features that our community is requesting, and then we go ahead and implement it. So essentially, we decided to go for Solar Farm V2. Now, V2 was essentially an upgrade of V1 based on features that our community had requested. We ran a series of polls, and then Zips came up with a few really innovative mechanisms. So we implemented features like fresh value, which is a way of detecting how much value has an investor bought into a protocol and then rewarding them based on that. Now, that's something that's not really been done in crypto. You don't really see a token where that token where you can track how much has he put in and can we mitigate how much he takes out to make sure that there's a fair distribution of profits for everyone. And that's the goal here. And that we're one of the first people to really put that to practical use. So that's Solar Farm V2, which again combined across V1 and V2, we had huge volumes, over $8 million worth of volume, and a lot of that money that we got from the taxes, all of it went straight back to marketing, getting those big names like Wanda Nara and the Island Boys and all these YouTubers. So that was V2. And then essentially, our community requested more gamification aspects, and inflation was a huge part of miners. It's a huge part of generic crypto protocols, and essentially Solar Farm Miner V3 again is an upgrade from V2, based around this new miner, and it's got a daily ROI of 4 to 7.5%. It scales on how much referrals people have, so it rewards people who really add significant value to the protocol. But it's also got a lot of anti-wall mechanisms, and it's overall, and we'll go into specifics a little bit later, but it's overall a much more long-term sustainable miner product than the other two. So that's sort of an overview on what we've built so far and where we're at the moment.
I'd just like to add to the end of that our latest product is called Solar Kingdom, and Solar Kingdom is comprised currently of two main actual functionalities. There's the actual ROI farming aspect, so you can deposit money and generate ROI each day on your deposit, and there's also the jackpot aspect, which is essentially you can take some of the currency you've deposited for, and you can go ahead and deposit that into a jackpot, and obviously the last person to deposit into the jackpot wins the entire jackpot. Currently, in terms of our jackpot, the time is at 19 minutes, and there's a battle going on. The jackpot's currently at 15.65 BNB, and people are waging a war over it there to people keep investing into it, which is exactly what we'd like to see, that sort of community engagement. And in terms of Solar Kingdom, our latest product, the ROI aspect, let's just a brief explanation of that. Solar Kingdom's a static rewards pool. So a static rewards pool is a project where you can deposit a currency and generate stable returns on that deposit. And in terms of our rewards pool, our deposit currency is BNB. So yeah, and essentially for those who are familiar with miners of previous, essentially it's a miner without inflation and with a very relatively stable basic ROI.
Okay, thanks very much, Alexander and Zips. So for new investors that have not invested in a miner before, can we go into the mechanics of a miner, the compounding and recommended investment strategies?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, in terms of a miner, what a miner is essentially you can deposit a currency and then that currency becomes locked. So you can't immediately withdraw that currency. It's not possible. It becomes locked in what's called the total value lock, the TVL. And this TVL balance is a transparent way of showing how much money has been invested into the project. And this is how much money is truly there, right? So unlike tokens where they facade their liquidity by using the market cap, there is no facade here. The TVL is just as transparent and as it can possibly be. So effectively, you can come to our specifically to our miner. You can come and deposit BNB and then generate ROI on it. So now let's get into what's ROI. So ROI is just return on your investment, right? Which means you're going to earn a percentage of how much you invested each day. With our rewards pool, it's 4%. So that's the base ROI. You can actually go up to 7.5%, but we'll get into that a bit later. That's a bit more of a complicated concept. Well, not complicated, but it'd be complicating things to explain it now. So we'll get into that a bit later. But so our ROI is 4%. So you can deposit, let's say, 100 BNB, and each day you can make 4 BNB, right? So as simple as that. Now, there's two other things you can do once you've deposited. All right, the first thing is you can do what's called fusing. All right, so you'll see on our DApp specifically, there'll be a fuse button, a massive green fuse button. Now, fusing is the same as compounding. Now, both of these concepts haven't been explained, so I'll go into that now. So fusing and compounding, what they mean is, as we said, you earn 4% daily ROI. So these are in the form of rewards. You'll have a rewards balance, and this rewards balance will progressively accumulate, right? And in terms of this rewards balance accumulating, you have two options, right? You can either fuse or compound these rewards, and in other words, you can take those rewards and reinvest them back into your, in our case, your reactor, right? Because when you deposit with us, we give you a reactor and that gives you your daily ROI. So what you can do is you can take your rewards and reinvest them, which then increases the value you've got in the miner, and therefore your daily ROI is higher because you'll have more money to make the 4% off, right? Or you can choose to harvest them. And harvesting them just means withdrawing it from the TVL. So withdrawing that amount. So that's the basics of a miner. You can buy, compound, and sell. Buying is just buying in and starting up your ROI stream. Compounding is, or fusing is, just taking the rewards you've accumulated and reinvesting them, and then harvesting or selling is removing them from the TVL, so claiming your rewards, right? Obviously, the best thing to do in terms of miners is to compound for the relatively long term, because you can have a much greater value from which you can accumulate ROI, and then you can obviously start harvesting at whenever is convenient for yourself.
Very much, Zips, for the breakdown there for new investors. That's very understandable for everyone, so that's great. And also, I think you're bringing the fresh melt value back from earlier miners, and you were saying on the Medium article that it's a fairer with the fresh value feature.
Yeah, so let's get into the fresh value feature and why it protects our TVL from a little bit of abuse. So as you guys are probably aware, we have one main competitor in this sort of product that we've released. Our product is quite similar to another project's product, Baked Beans V2. They've released a recent project. Our product is fairly similar in that it builds upon similar concepts. So we didn't copy them or anything like that, but we have similar concepts. We share similarities. One of those similarities is that we have a restriction to how much you're actually able to withdraw from the TVL, right? So what we've done is we've set an allowance for people based on their fresh value. As Alexander got into earlier, your fresh value is how much money you brought to the protocol. So this isn't, oh, let me just withdraw and then put it back in. That wouldn't count as fresh value. This is more like, okay, let me put $100 into crypto and then invest that into the miner. That would be your fresh value, right? Adding actual tangible value that wasn't already there. That's your fresh value. So upon that, we'll give you free X. So you're allowed to withdraw 3 times your fresh value, completely restriction free, whatever, right? So free X, that's your allowance. So let's say you deposit 50 BNB, you'd be able to withdraw 150 BNB, right? Completely, there's no restrictions on you, right? Now, the key difference here is that with the baked beans method of doing this, they've done it based on the total deposit, right? This means that if you buy and then sell and then buy back in with what you sold, your allowance would then go up. So an investor on baked beans would be able to bypass the free times allowance that they have by just simply buying and selling and then buying back in. So you would be able to abuse the mechanism, right? In terms of ours, you have to add more than you originally put in order to increase your allowance. You can't buy, take, and then buy back in and expect it to go up. You'd have to buy back in with more than you originally ever took. So in terms of that, that's how we ensure that our TVL is safe from abuse in that same way. And so fresh value.
Yeah, I just wanted to, that was a good explanation, Zips. I just wanted to add an example for people just to, in case there's any further confusion. So in baked beans, right, let's say I have invested 50 BNB. On baked beans, similar thing, you can get sort of 3x on what you initially invest. So let's say I've invested 50 BNB and then I've now net taken out 150 BNB. On our protocol, that investor has already made enough profit, they can't take any more. But if I was in baked beans, I would then be able to take some of my 100 BNB profit. So let's say I take 10 BNB and I reinvest it. I then get another 30 BNB I can take out. So I've drained a net 10, 20 BNB from the TVL, and I can keep repeating this. So essentially, we have fresh value to ensure that, you know, we have a fair distribution of profit for all of our investors. And I think that's critical in any project, you know, and especially that in conjunction with the maximum wallet of 200 BNB, it just really ensures that, you know, investors of all sizes can essentially coexist, which is something I think all protocols should try to have. You know, you want to make sure that you can have large investors, sure, but that doesn't really screw over the smaller guys. And that's essentially a fundamental aspect for us. And yeah, that was just a quick example illustrating what Zips was explaining there.
Okay, thank you very much, Zips and Alexander. And can we go into the engineers and supervisors? And yeah, engineers is basically if you're bringing more people in, and supervisor, or it's the other way around, and supervisors is just individual investors, and the referral system, how that works to improve the ROI.
Yeah, absolutely. I can make it really simple for everyone. All right. So in Solar Kingdom, there's 2 types of investors, right? There's supervisors and there's engineers. Now let's get into what a supervisor and engineer is, starting with an engineer. So an engineer is someone who just comes along and invests into Solar Kingdom. You just come along, whether you use a referral or don't, if you deposit into Solar Kingdom, as in you buy fuel cells, which is located on the dashboard at the bottom, if you go ahead and buy fuel cells, you will be an engineer. So that's done. Now, just a simple investor is referred to as an engineer. However, when you go ahead and you go to the referrals page and you start sharing your referral link with people, if someone invests by using your referral, they will make you a supervisor, right? So simply put, a supervisor is someone who has referrals. Now, there's a very critical thing about our referral system. There's actually 2 tiers of referrals. These don't affect if you're a supervisor or not, but they do affect your reactor tier. So there is the basic referrals and the complete referrals. A basic referral is just someone who has invested using your referral link or your referral wallet or whatever. They've invested using you as the referrer. However, they haven't invested more than 0.5 BNB. And obviously, the complete referral is someone who has invested using your referrer, using you as the referrer. However, they've invested 0.5 BNB or greater, right? And that will make them count as a complete referral. Now, the reason why it's important to distinguish between complete referrals and basic referrals is because complete referrals contribute towards your reactor tier. So we got into the idea that there's up to 7.5% daily ROI. Well, here's where that comes in handy. So we have 8 tiers of daily ROI. So we have 4 and then increments of 0.5 all the way till 7.5%, right? So 4, 4.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, etc., right? So we have from 4% to 7.5% daily ROI. On tier 1, which is the 4%, that's for anyone who has less than 5 referrals. However, complete referrals. However, once you have 5 complete referrals, you progress to the next tier. You enter the 4.5% daily ROI tier, which means your daily ROI physically changes from 4% to that 4.5%, right? Without your reactor value changing. So you will just earn more, right? And that's why it's very critical that you get complete referrals. We actually have a post where we showcase all the requirements to get into the tiers. So we have like a graphic that shows exactly what you need to get from tier 1 to tier 2, tier 2 to tier 3, tier 3 to tier 4, etc. Right? And just to break it down for you guys in terms of what you guys need, 5 referrals will get you to 4.5%. 10 referrals, and by the way, these are complete referrals. 10 referrals will get you to 5%. 20 referrals will get you to 5.5%. 40 referrals to 6%. 80 to 6.5. 320 or above. 160 to 6.5. 320 or above will give you 7.5. So you could, that's how you get all the way from 4% to 7.5%. So for those who are looking to make a lot of passive income with a low initial investment, the referral method is the way for you. Simply make a deposit of the minimum amount, which is 0.01 BNB, and then you can go ahead and share your referral link, and you'll not only get the deposit bonus, which is a 5% commission. So something I haven't mentioned yet is a basic referral or a complete referral, regardless, if someone buys in and it's their first deposit into the miner, then you will receive 5% commission on their deposit. So that's something you gain regardless. It's not just about the reactor tiers, you also get a commission. So on top of the commission, if you get a complete referral, you'll then progress up in reactor tiers. And so yeah, that's an overview of our referral system.
Awesome, Zips. And you've brought the Solar Guard function back as well. Can we go into the details for investors, how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the Solar Guard back in, and the Solar Guard has obviously changed and adapted to this new type of investment. So with the Solar Farm Miner V2, the market conditions were a little bit different, and what the community wanted was also different. At that time, a lot of people just wanted a safer and secure version of the Solar Farm Miner V1, and obviously the Solar Farm Miner V1 was essentially a close copy of Baked Beans V2 with a few additional features. So people wanted a more secure investment for V2. But in terms of Solar Kingdom, we decided that we'd approach it in a way that we make everything fair but not overly intrusive. So we didn't want things to be overly intrusive. And so the Solar Guard is a little bit adapted. So let's go into the first component of the Solar Guard, and this is the tax tier. So for those who are able to see our DApp or anything like that, you'll be able to see on the front page. In fact, you know what I can do? I can open up our DApp and I can share my screen so that people can see and follow along with what we're doing. If you give me one moment. Okay, so I'll just be sharing my screen. Oh, share screen.
Sometimes it doesn't show for everyone. You might just have to leave and come back in. But if it shows for me, I'll stay in the room. But oh yeah, it's there for me. Great.
Okay, is it showing up?
Shows up for me. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool. For those who can follow, I'll dictate everything regardless. But if people can see, I'll be using my mouse to reference what I'm talking about. So we have the first component of the Solar Guard, which is the tax tier. So we actually have a cascading tax in our project, which we call the waterfall tax. Essentially, starting from the moment you invest, there's a timer. That timer counts down each day until the 9th day. on the 0 day or the first day, whichever you guys prefer to say, the tax is at 90%. And each day until the 9th day, the tax goes down by 10% until the 9th day when it reaches the normal taxes, right? This means that if you guys decide to sell on any day except the 9th day, you'll receive an enhanced tax because you'll be harming the TVL because due to the rate at which you're trying to sell. And so this is how we secure ourselves from people who like to spam sell, like sell every day or sell very often, right? We've made it so that every 9th day, the taxes reach normal, and that's when you should sell. If you carry on to the 10th day, it'll reset. So the 10th day will just be the same as the 0 day. So this tax tier helps to secure us against the spam method of abuse. Right. Previously, the spam method of abuse was handled by having a restriction on how many compounds you've required and all that. But we have no compound requirements. Simply, the tax tier, once you deposit, will count down until 9 days and then reset. If you decide to sell, obviously it resets the timer. So if you sell, you will then go straight back to tier 0, and it would then go from each time you sell. So, but just to clarify, when you deposit, it will be set to 0, and then after that, it will be every time you sell. So the next time you deposit afterwards, it won't reset the timer, and fusing also doesn't reset the timer. So the only things that determine the timer's tier is the first deposit and then every single sell thereafter, right? So that's one thing we use to protect the TVR, and that's the first feature of the Solar Guard. The second feature of the Solar Guard is the allowance, which we got into earlier with the fresh value. Obviously, the fresh value is how much money you've brought into the protocol, and the allowance is 3 times that amount. And now the allowance reduces each time you sell. So every time you would sell, the allowance would go down by the amount you've sold all the way until it hits 0. Once it's at 0, then you can't withdraw anymore. You'd be expected to invest every single thing you took out, and then a little bit more, and that would then increase your allowance, which could be very worth it for you, because your reactor value would also still go up, because this, again, there's no inflation in this miner, and so your reactor value doesn't go down. So it could be wise to increase your allowance by reinvesting everything, and then being able to obtain even more, right? So that's another component of the Solar Guard. And again, in terms of the Solar Guard, there is a minimum amount that you can fuse, and this prevents people abusing the compound, right? So essentially, in terms of compounding, it can be very optimal to compound at very rapid rates. To prevent this from being abused, we have a minimum compound amount of 0.01 BNB. So people have to wait until they've accumulated 0.01 BNB in rewards, and then you're able to compound. Further to the Solar Guard, sort of an extension of the Solar Guard is actually Solar Frenzy. So as we got into before, in terms of how many fuel cells you can buy, etc., fuel cells can't be reduced. You can't actually lose fuel cells until you consider Solar Frenzy. So in order to participate in Solar Frenzy, you actually need to deposit fuel cells. So you do lose fuel cells by having to spend them in Solar Frenzy. And the reason why this is very important is because effectively we have dilution in our stable miner without having inflation. And so that's very critical, because that means we're able to ensure the longevity of the TVL for a longer period of time. Now, the final part of the Solar Guard is actually the maximum accumulation. So going back to the rewards, there is a maximum amount you can accumulate and hold on to at one time. So in terms of our project, and this is something, again, we differ from compared to Baked Beans V2, our maximum rewards accumulation is 2.5% of the TVL until 5 BNB becomes smaller than the 2.5%. So let me make that a little bit less confusing. Anything under 200 BNB TVL, you'll be restricted by 2.5%. So 2.5% of the TVL. So for example, at the moment, let's say we're at 100 BNB TVL, you would only be able to accumulate 2.5 BNB in rewards. However, once you hit 200 BNB and above, it would then be restricted at 5. It doesn't matter what the TVL is, it would no longer be 2.5%. It just becomes a fixed 5. So below 200, there's a percentage, and above 200 is fixed 5. The reason why this is very important is because at the lower TVLs, this is what differentiates us from obviously baked beans, in that we can keep ourselves stable because people can't abuse the TVL in such a way, in the same way as with baked beans. And additionally to that, it evens the playing field. What does this mean? This means that people who are smaller investors and people that are larger investors are restricted by a percentage, and therefore the larger investors actually don't have much of an advantage over the smaller investors. And so everyone has a completely level playing field, and so the smaller investors won't get trampled on by larger investors if people decide to withdraw. So that's the complete Solar Guard system. If anyone's got any questions, or if you've got any questions regarding anything that I've said, or if anything was a bit complicated, you'd like a second go at it, feel free to let me know, and I'll go again.
That's great. So compared to other miners, your UI is very user friendly and explains it really well for investors. Is that what you build yourself as well?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So yeah, in terms of the UI, at the top is located the TVL. So this is how much is in the TVL. Your reactor tiers represent your daily ROI. So you'll be able to see T1, tier 1, has 4% daily ROI. So this would be how much I'd receive if I invest. Rewards balance, at the moment, I haven't invested, so it doesn't show the rewards balance. If I would invest, these would become empty, and you would see a box here that shows your rewards, and as your rewards accumulate, you'll see this fill up. So this will fill up with blue liquid that's glowing, and you'll be able to see your fuel cells charging. Obviously, this fuse button is to fuse those rewards, and then there's the tax tier, which shows you the tiers that I got into earlier. Right now, I'd be on 90%, and obviously, harvest would allow you to sell the rewards that you would see in the middle, right? Obviously, the tax tiers start from tier 0, and they tier up all the way till tier 9. Tier 9 being where you have the lowest tax, tier 0 being where you have the highest tax. So, then going towards the bottom, we have your reactor value.
Just going into that, so it's the 1 to 9 day tax. I was wondering where the profits go from that tax.
Okay, so good question. Amazing. So if you trigger one of the enhanced tax levels, we have a giveaway wallet. So all that tax money that you've lost to the tax tier will go to our giveaway wallet, and that giveaway wallet funds tons of our competitions and some of our marketing, but not all of it. We rely on the actual marketing wallet for that, but it funds a small portion of the marketing, as well as pretty much all of our giveaways. And these giveaways are really essential, because what we'll be building up to and what we'll be announcing a little bit later into this AMA is that we actually have a roadmap of certain features that we want to release at different TVL targets. Just to give a small sneak peek into that, at $100K US dollars in TVL, so just convert the BNB to $100,000. We are aiming to release a mass airdrop. So similar to like those tokens like Bonk, we want to mass airdrop fuel cells to people. And the format in which we want to do this is we want to create a dummy token, which we then issue out to people, called Solar Kingdom. People will see Solar Kingdom in their wallets. They can come to our DApp, and then they can exchange Solar Kingdom for fuel cells. So we're going to do a mass airdrop to try and get the entire BSC into the project effectively, right? And then at $150,000, we'd like to release a solar bond. It's something we already have prepared and completely ready, tested, and all that. It's actually our bonding mechanism. Originally, we were going to release it at launch, but we thought we'd hold it as a feature for later down the roadmap. So effectively, solar bond allows you to buy fuel cells. Obviously, buying fuel cells is done at the bottom. And fuel cells, if I haven't made it clear already, fuel cells are the currency of this miner. Essentially, there's a fixed rate that you get fuel cells from the BNB deposit, and those fuel cells earn you your ROI. So there's an exchange rate. The exchange rate is 0.401 BNB equals 1 fuel cell. So yeah, so you get fuel cells for your BNB. So let's say I put 1 BNB in here, you'll see I have 100,000 fuel cells I can claim. And obviously the exchange rate is maintained, and that exchange rate determines how many rewards you gain, and the rewards are in BNB. Remember, the ROI is 4%. So it's 4% of the fuel cells or the BNB. It doesn't matter. They're the same value, right? So just that's clarified. sorry, I lost my train of thought. Well, oh, sorry, $150,000 TVL, the bonds. So what bonds are, the solar bond, is essentially you can buy these fuel cells vested at major discounts. So we can essentially offer you crazy discounts on fuel cells. So for one BNB, maybe instead of 100,000, you could buy 800,000. However, you'd have to vest for 7 days. So each day you would receive a seventh of how much you purchased, and that would obviously create a fair and even sort of ground for people to make obtain high profits with low initial investment. It's similar to how the referrals allow you to do the same thing. It would be sort of down the same path. So we have these things in our roadmap that we'd like to introduce later on, and we really believe that it can differentiate us from all the other projects and obviously shoot us into the spotlight in this space.
Okay, awesome, Zips. And what's the investment strategies? Each miner is different. Would you be recommending the 10 days when the tax goes to zero? Could you hold it for 30 days, 60 days? And the vesting you went into there, what sort of strategies are you offering the community and anyone new to mining?
So we would advise, in terms of our community, we'd advise that everyone compounds effectively every as much as possible. When you see the rewards above 0.01 BNB, you're going to want to compound. And then in terms of withdrawing, we wouldn't recommend triggering the tax tier. We wouldn't recommend that at all, because obviously it incurs a massive fee to you, and then it resets the timer, so you receive the same fee if you do decide to go that route, like if you try to do it again. So we wouldn't advise you triggering the tax tier. In terms of withdrawing, we'd recommend that you'd probably want to increase your reactor value to a substantial amount, obviously to an amount such that you can actually feasibly withdraw your allowance, right? That would be the optimal strategy. You'd want to be able to obtain your allowance. And obviously, there's a lot of dynamics to it. So if you do eventually get to the stage where you can withdraw your allowance, then you might think, wow, my reactor is actually very valuable. Maybe I should increase my fresh value so I can increase my allowance. And so there's actually quite a few dynamics to this. It's dependent on the behavior of the TVL. Obviously, as the TVL goes up, we'd encourage people to continue to fuse. If the TVL goes down, obviously, as a risk prevention, we'd obviously recommend people to withdraw a little bit on their harvest day, which is obviously the 9th day. But in terms of us and preserving our project is going to be receiving incredible amounts of utility. For me to develop a utility, it doesn't take me long, right? Like things like this jackpot mechanism here, they don't take long at all. So in terms of us being able to provide utility and utility where you can spend fuel cells, there's going to be a plentiful supply coming through, especially in this gambling or casino style format. So regarding that, it's unlikely that our TVL will see massive fluctuations downwards. It's very likely that we'll be able to keep our TVL stable due to the engagement we can get from our community into our overall set of products. Solar Frenzy is the first step. There's going to be more to come.
So just to quickly add to that, yeah. So Zips, if you could go back to the frenzy, I think there's about 10 minutes remaining, and there's a 15.75 BNB jackpot there to be won, and this is an opportunity for someone to get in and invest just $15 for a chance to win around $4,500. So it's a pretty cool feature, guys. A really cool game. So I'd encourage everyone to go check it out. And just to add something in terms of the strategy question, in V1 and V2, some of the biggest winners were those who really went out and referred. Those referral tiers scaling up from 4% to 7.5%. That impact, it's massive. It's huge, because if you think about just how many times, if you invest 10, 20 BNB, you're going to be compounding, hundreds, if not thousands of times over a week or two. And every single time you compound, you're getting that extra 0.5%, even the extra 1%. It racks up really quickly. And again, with V1, we had people who, especially students and stuff come in, they put in sort of one or so BNB, and through referrals and getting their referral bonuses, they managed to rack up sort of 20, 30 BNB. We had a few channel hosts and things, put in 10 BNB, and they managed to, through their referrals, get about 80 BNB out. So the power of referring can't be understated here. It's one of those things you can just use in combination with the strategies that Zips was talking about to really boost your ROI and really stack up your values overall, just because of how powerful compound interest is. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Oh, I'd like to add one final thing to the end of it regarding Solar Frenzy. I just wanted to clarify with everyone. To deposit into Solar Frenzy, to compete in Solar Frenzy, you'll notice obviously the time is counting down. There's two methods. You can either deposit 5,000 fuel cells, which obviously the exchange rate's on this page here, or you can deposit 10,000 fuel cells. To explain this very simply for you guys, 5,000 fuel cells is 0.05 BNB, and 10,000 fuel cells is 0.1 BNB. So they're relatively cheap entries to try and win a 15.75 currently BNB jackpot, right? So 5,000 cells, 0.05 BNB would increment this timer by 10 minutes. So when you invest, you can it's mandatory that your investment must increase the timer to give someone else the opportunity to steal the win from you, right? But obviously there's only two options. You can either do 10 minutes or 30 minutes, and your key is you want to be the last depositor before this hits zero. If you're the last depositor before this hits zero, then you're going to win 70% of this. The other 30% goes to the top depositor. So this is called the pity. We call this the pity. So if someone deposited so much but they weren't able to win, we'll give you a 30% pity from the pot, but the last depositor will get 70% of the pot. Obviously, if you're the last depositor and the top depositor, you get 100% of the jackpot. So you can actually win 100% if you become both of these. Yeah, that's just a quick rundown.
Thanks very much, Zips. And have you had a smart contract audit, and it's a proxy contract, and I'm wondering, are you going to keep that open to change things in the future, or will you revoke the contracts in the future?
So we're keeping, so in terms of the audit, we're trying to get one done right now. So we're going to have an audit ready very shortly. We're trying to go with SAFU or SAFU audits, whatever you guys prefer to say, because we've been using them before. So it just makes sense to continue with them. But obviously in terms of audits and stuff like that, it's not an essential priority, because obviously we have a track record of being quite loyal to our community, and obviously we haven't done anything remotely suspect in terms of any of our previous products. As you guys are aware, we still host our previous products, which no other project actually does. They've all discontinued their previous ones. They have no dApps for them. In our dApp, you can go ahead and you can still go back to our legacy products and you can still check them out. So we have a history of not doing anything suspect with any of our products. And so in terms of an audit, it's not the most essential thing for us at the moment, but we are literally pursuing it. So you guys need to understand that as well. And then regarding the proxy contract, we're actually taking full advantage of the proxy contract, like complete full advantage of the proxy contract. In order to do the mass airdrop we spoke of, we actually need to edit the original contract and add that functionality in. It's not necessary to keep it at the beginning. And that is a key point where we can obviously advertise that alongside our marketing. We can show that we've upgraded to include these features, and it's very good to have to pair along with our marketing strategies, just to be able to advertise more things that we're doing. So we're taking full advantage of the proxy contract. However, if it comes a time where it's no longer we don't gain anything by keeping it a proxy contract. For example, one thing is with Solar Frenzy, these the 5,000 cells and 10,000 cells as a part of the proxy. So these values, they're not controlled by variables. They're simply just in there. They're in there, so I could change them to, if people say, hey, look, we don't really like having to do 10 or 30 minutes each time. What if we want 1 minute? Can you add that? Then yes, we can add that. But if we renounce the contract right now, we wouldn't be able to add that. So stuff like that, we do need to keep a hold of it for the time being, just to ensure we get to the stage we need to be at before we can renounce it. But if the community comes to the agreement that it's better to renounce it than to keep it modifiable, then we'll obviously renounce the contract. At this stage, it wouldn't be wise though, because of what I obviously previously said. We take full advantage of it. So it would be kind of foolish to renounce it and then not be able to control a bunch of things. For example, right now, you can see this jackpot as 4 minutes left. Let's say someone wins this jackpot, and the major complaint from everyone is that there was no 1 minute option. Then, for example, we'd say, okay, well, we can look to include that. Let's just say hypothetically, right? So yeah, that's the answer.
Okay, Zips, that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, some people like it to be renounced, like with tokens, and some people keep it open to change, and that's perfectly fine. Like you say, you're well respected in the mining space, so yeah, and maybe in the
I mean, even further to that, if you guys are familiar with Moonarch, they're the lead DApp or provider for effectively everything miner related. They're good friends with us, and in terms of their DApp, they actually have a policy not to allow any proxies onto their DApp. However, obviously, we've made it onto the DApp with the other than Baked Beans V2, we've made it onto their DApp, which just goes to show that we are truly respected in this space, and we haven't done anything remotely dangerous or harming towards people's investments. And another thing is I'm in control of the actual smart contracts here, and so in terms of myself and my own image in crypto, I'm not going to do anything to harm myself. So I'm the only one who can control this, and so everyone can rest assured that it's all safe in my hands. And obviously, like I said, I'm the only developer here, so there's no one else that can come and fiddle with it.
That's great, Zips. And we'll open it up to community investor questions in a minute, but I was just wondering, what's the marketing plans going forward for Solar Kingdom?
Good question. So we've got a lot of parallel marketing strategies. One of the major ones is the Chinese marketing. So we've been heavily targeting the Chinese side of things on Weibo, WeChat, and obviously on Telegram as well, a little bit on Twitter. We're going to try and attempt to adjust our strategy that we've been using currently. We're primarily Telegram-based advertisement. We've got primarily Telegram-based advertisement. We want to transition this to Twitter and Twitter Spaces and try and get Twitter Spaces going. We haven't previously done any Twitter Space, so it'd be actually very, very nice to sort of transition over to that. I know you guys host Twitter Spaces, so it'd actually be pretty good for us to maybe return to you guys on Twitter Spaces potentially as a different format for obviously advertisement. And we're obviously going to pursue this with other projects too. So in terms of our strategies, we've diversified our strategies pretty much as possible to try and attack this different angles. And we're obviously putting a heavy so we're heavily invested in getting the Chinese market involved with our project as well.
Just to quickly add to that, yeah, so we're really focused at the moment on increasing our global outreach in terms of getting multiple different communities, so Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, as Zip said. As I mentioned before, we also do have some huge names who've previously backed us, like Wanda Nara, wife of a player who plays with Messi and Mbappe, which is incredible, and the Island Boys. And we'll also continue to get those big names in. So, I'd encourage everyone to sort of get involved in the protocol before, we continue to get even bigger names into the protocol. Essentially, one way to optimize our marketing strategies that we and our marketing manifest, we're always going to be studying what's working at the moment. What are the products that are really doing well? What are those guys doing at the moment? Is there anyone specific that we think will be optimal for our project? And we try to maintain a symbiotic relationship between our marketers and our project. We want both of our ecosystems and profiles to grow. And with that kind of approach, I think everyone here can be assured that marketing is one of our strong suits. It's something that's going to take us to that 4, if not 5-figure BNB TVL value. And we continue to grow during what was a very tough market, as Bitcoin sunk from when we launched, it was about 42,000, and right now it's sitting at 19,000. And throughout that, we've continued to grow, and that's thanks to our really strong marketing team and our strategies.
Let's open it up to community investor questions. Let's see. Syed, you had a question for Alexander or Zips at Solar Kingdom. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. Okay, I want to understand that on every BNB deposit in the Solar Kingdom, will users going to receive the fuel cells, and do users need to deposit the fuel cells to harvest the BNB?
No, so actually, when you buy fuel cells, that's it. Your reactor is now set up. You have the fuel cells. If you want to fuse your rewards, you have to wait some time. The rewards will build up, and then you can choose to fuse them. If you want to sell your rewards, you have to wait some time. The rewards will build up, and then you can choose to harvest them. So that's how it works. As soon as you buy, the fuel cells get converted into depleted fuel cells. So when you buy, in the background, your fuel cells get used, your reactor value goes up, and your depleted cells go up. So that's what will happen. So the buy does everything for you.
Okay, understood. And rewards for Frenzy Jackpot will be in Frenzy token, I think, right? And what will be the exchange rate?
That's a good question. So the exchange rate is actually 0.00001 BNB per fuel cell. So there's 4 zeros there, if that makes sense.
Okay, got it. And the maximum deposit for
4
wallet
zeros, 1
is,
BNB. So the maximum deposit is
yeah,
200 BNB. We actually have a whale. I forgot to mention this as a part of the Solar Guard. We have a maximum wallet of 200 BNB. You can't get bigger than 200 BNB. So you can't deposit more than 200 BNB, and you can't compound until your wallet is bigger than 200 BNB. At 200 BNB, it stops. You can't go any further.
okay. And also, will compounding going to reset the days or only
No,
harvesting will
only
reset the
harvest.
days?
Only harvesting.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much for answering.
Great. No worries.
Thank you for the question, Syed. Let's move to Asia. You had a question for Zips or Alexander at Solar Kingdom. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. I've read on your Medium page that when an investor triggers the enhanced tax, 50% of their taxed amount is sent to the giveaway wallet. This wallet is used to sponsor giveaways uh, on space social media pages, as well as used to generate external yield. I was wondering, where will you be investing the funds to generate the external yield, and who will be deciding in which pools or DeFi protocol the investments go to?
Primarily in yield farms, and that will be handled by Alexander. He's the investment professional, so he'll be finding yield farms on across different chains. So it won't be just restricted to the BSC. It'll be on all chains, especially chains like FTM, where there's tokenomically heavy projects that feature farming strategies that you can implement to make quick and long-term profit. Obviously, everything will be handled by Alexander. I'll let him speak a bit about it.
Yeah, so in terms of managing funds, we have a number of different strategies, and that sort of depends on the risk tolerance of the market. One of the primary strategies that we look to do is use delta neutral strategies that essentially look to place a long and a short position while still farming yield. And one of the examples previously that we utilized was the fact that you could farm on Tomb. So you could essentially borrow and short Tomb whilst also longing FTM on the other side. And on that short position, you'd be getting yield. So essentially finding those pegged delta neutral farming strategies and also other sort of risk weighted strategies, stable farms and things like that. That's how we look to manage our treasury. And essentially, we then take these rewards and give them back to the community. And one of the really important things that I want to stress to everyone here is that our fundamental goal is to make this a protocol that generates a significant amount of external revenue. And what I mean by that is when it comes to sustainability, you have to ask this to every product out there. How are you guys actually generating revenue? Because that's how businesses work in real life, right? They, release a product or offer a service that people pay for. People pay for that service, that business makes money, and, some of their profits goes back to their investors. And in our case, some of these mechanisms, such as Solar Frenzy, and we've got other casino game ideas, as well as bonding as well, and managing some of that treasury. These are all sources of external revenue that we're bringing in. So we're one of the very few protocols that are actively thinking about how we can be sustainable in the long term by creating value for our protocol that doesn't recycle money from older and newer investors back to the older investors. So that's a really critical point that I wanted to raise about how we think about things at Solar. So thanks for your question.
Thank you. It makes me clear now. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question, Asia. Let's move to Western Beast. You got a question for Alexander or Zips at Solar Kingdom? Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. I just actually have one quick question on your referral scheme. I was just doing the analysis in my head. It may seem incomplete, but I'd like you to, run the analogy with me. So let me understand that if I get 5 referrals, I switch to a 4.5. Am I correct? Hello?
Hello? Hi, sorry. Could you just quickly
Can you
repeat
hear
that
me?
question? Yeah.
Okay, so I was asking, if I happen to switch 5 on the referral system, I get sorry, if I happen to bring 5 referrals, I switch from a 4 level 4 to 4.5. Am I correct?
Yes. So if you get to 5 referrals, then you'll have now 4.5% as your ROI. That's correct. Yes. And if
So
those
and also each referral should invest a minimum of 1 BNB equivalent to, right?
0.5 BP.
So okay, so here's my analogy. If I put 0.5 and the remaining 4 people also put 0.5, which is 2 BNB. Does this mean that if I want to run it myself and I have 2.5 BNB, I get to win on both sides? Is there a drawback to this?
Oh, so if you wanted to essentially refer yourself, yeah, no, people can do that. So let's say you wanted to, without referring, just manually boost yourself up to the next tier. Then what you can do is you can take 2.5 BNB, and then you would use your same referral link on different wallets, and then you would then refer those wallets back to yourself, and that main wallet will then have the added bonus. Yes.
Yeah, so just to clarify, if you want to increase your reactor tier by yourself, what you would have to do is you'd have to take 0.5 BNB and place 0.5 BNB into multiple wallets using yourself as a referrer, and then obviously deposit the 0.5 and you'd get a complete referral. Now, I didn't mention this entirely, but that's actually part of the Solar Guard a little bit, right? Now, the reason why it's part of the Solar Guard is the reason it's set at 0.5 BNB is so people can't abuse it. It becomes not worth it to actually do that. There is maybe for 4.5%, it could be worth it. It really depends on how much you've deposited in the first place. So I don't know. I don't think there's many whales in our miner at the moment because I've done some forensics to see who invested at the start. So there's not really many whales, or like people that could be considered whales. If you were a whale, then it would be worth it potentially for you to invest 0.5 BNB 5 times on different wallets and refer it to yourself. Up to an extent, you could probably do this up to a certain ROI, and obviously it's beneficial for the TVO as well because you'd be adding more. But for smaller investors, it would be smarter to just spend all your money in one wallet. It wouldn't be smart to do the referrals that way. It'd be smarter to invest your money in one wallet and then get like genuine referrals from friends and family, etc.
That's actually fair enough. I think it's clearer now. My last question is concerning the fact that there's actually a there's actually a there's actually there's actually the countdown timer for your referral the jackpot. Based on the last minute principle, what's the minimum that someone can do to reset the jackpot timer? Does it go on and on?
As you can see, there's 10 minutes or 30 minutes. The minimum is 10 minutes.
That's fair enough. Thank you very much. I still have a few more questions, but when I properly align my train of thought, I'll ask them in your group. I wish you guys the best based on your experience. I hope that the Solar Kingdom project stays bullish moonward. Over to you, Glenn.
Thank you very much for the questions, Western Beast. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but it's been great speaking to Alexander and Zips again from the Solar Kingdom. Like I've said, they've done multiple miners, and I've been involved in the past. But as we say at Wellcoin Talk, it's for educational research purposes. So we recommend the community investors check out the website, the white paper, and if you have any questions, you can join their official socials. We have the links there in our main chat, and it's been great speaking to you again today, guys. And yeah, Twitch Spaces would be great in the future if you want to come back. That'd be awesome. You're always welcome. And I think we've got Spin the Wheel now as well for 4 lucky winners to $25 each.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for being so hospitable with us. We appreciate you guys for hosting us and giving us some excellent questions to answer in front of a pretty receptive audience. And we appreciate the audience for being receptive of everything we said and all the questions that were asked and all the questions they asked. Thank you.
Yep, just also want to say thank you to everyone from myself. If you guys have any questions, feel free to come into our chat. And yeah, thank you, Glenn, for hosting. Thanks, guys. See you. Bye.
Thanks, Alexander and Zips, yeah, and take care. I'll finish the recording after these spins, and I'll send a copy for you to share with your community, and I'll send that into the main chat for anyone who wasn't on the call today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
There you go, guys. The spin is done. I've collected your IDs, and we'll post them in main chat once we unlock it. So thank you everybody for the questions, for participating, and for tuning in. This has been great.
Awesome.